What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel for another video concerning Ben Solo's childhood and one of the very early events that would haunt him for years to come. Now this is actually something that we have previously been made aware of, but this book, which we have referenced a few times recently, sums up the occurrences pretty well, and it continues to paint the devastatingly tragic picture of Ben Solo's life and how Darth Sidious manipulated the young Skywalker boy for his own sinister plans. So we'll just get right into the brief reading from the book Skywalker, A Family at War, and then we will talk about its potential effects on Ben Solo's later years afterward. When Ben was 2 years old, the family enlisted the help of a droid, BX-778, adept at both brewing calf and watching over the small boy when his parents were otherwise engaged. The droid's programming was briefly corrupted by a nefarious virus. When Ben was still given to late-night temper tantrums, it nearly slit the toddler's throat. Fortunately, if Ben remembered the incident at all, it remained deep in his subconscious, the stuff of nightmares. Yet it seems possible that it left an emotional scar that influenced his later years. As he grew, Ben was more often left alone with a droid caretaker. He knew, or at least he was told, that what his parents were doing was important. But in the way that children believe the world revolves around them, he didn't quite believe it. Okay, so again, there's a whole lot to take in here, but the big takeaway is something that we have talked about countless times on this channel now, and that is that it's very clear that Ben Solo is like the victim of all victims. He was literally tormented while he was still in his mother's womb. And it wasn't just, having these voices speaking to him in his head. He literally, as we see here, had a droid attack him when he was 2 years old because it was infected with this virus, which, if I recall correctly, was actually set in place by, surprise, surprise, Emperor Palpatine. And so this is just yet another event, another prime example of Palpatine's manipulation of Ben Solo and of the entire Skywalker family. I mean, no matter what way you slice this, in my opinion, Ben Solo essentially stood no chance against Palpatine's manipulation, and this book, along with many other supplementary materials that we have gotten since the release of The Rise of Skywalker, have really went a long way in helping to paint this picture that we were sort of seeing as the sequel trilogy unfolded, but we didn't know the full story. Now we're getting this backstory about Ben Solo's childhood and the way that he was essentially dragged to the dark side. This isn't something that he grew up longing for and wanting to do. It's something that he consciously fought for a long time, and that's part of the tragedy of Ben Solo's life. Another point that I want to make is I think it's a little bit interesting that Ben Solo was still left alone with droid caretakers after this event, because even if it isn't something that he consciously remembered, it does say that this event was buried deep in his subconscious and likely influenced his later years. So, I can't help but to wonder if any other droids, even outside of the caretakers like R2-D2 or any droid he encountered, had some sort of negative influence on him and, drew some fear out of him just based on this event that he had experienced in his childhood. And then I think it's also important that we point out that this event likely triggers some of those feelings of paranoia that we talked about in my other video about when and how Ben Solo learned that Darth Vader was his grandfather. And given the fact that we still don't know so much about his childhood, we can only imagine how many more events similar to this continued to bombard him throughout his life, whether it be through thoughts or actual physical events like this one. But what do you guys think about this story? For me, it's sort of just like more icing on the cake, for lack of a better analogy. It reinforces many things we were already aware of, such as Ben Solo's feelings of being neglected by his parents, and as I said, it helps to illustrate some of the factors that triggered Ben's mental struggles from a very young age. And I'll be making another video very soon where we take a look at Rey's childhood and compare her experiences and challenges to Ben's as they both grew up. But that is another discussion for another time, so until then, let me know what you guys thought about this video in the comments section below. Please remember to drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and may the Force be with you always.